back. Today we are going to continue our series on how to create a build script for your application using Nant. In this episode we're going to build off the previous episode where we added the ability to run NUnit within our script, and today we're going to add the ability to do code coverage with NCover. We will be using the commercial version of NCover. However, if you wish to use an older version, 1.58, this is still free and you can utilize it if you wish. Now there's a few things we need to do before we actually get to the meat of the content today. We need to set up our project so it could actually utilize NCover and know how to work with it. Now the first thing I want to do is I want to add a new output directory. So in the past we created our properties here that will point to our build directory and our test directory. We actually want to create one that will point to our coverage directory. So I'm going to create one called coverage.output.dir. The next thing we're going to want to do is we're going to need to create a set of properties that will actually point to a tools directory within our drive. And this tools directory is where we store things like NCover and NUnit. I like to create these because it allows me to reuse this over and over again throughout our script, not have to actually point to the executable directly anywhere else. And then in the past episode we just simply had a single build target and it would actually compile and run our test. I want to create a second build target that will compile, run our test, and simply do code coverage, and allow me to have the option to call either one. We're going to tweak this so this will simply call the build target. Later we'll come back and we'll actually add the ability here to run our coverage within this as well. So now it's on to the actual meat of the script here. In order to get NCover to run, we need to add two targets into our script. One that will actually run the NCover program, and the other that will run the NCover Explorer. Now the NCover program itself will actually do the profiling and the creating of all the metrics, whereas the NCover Explorer will actually take all that information and create a document that is both an XML as well as an HTML for us, so we can look at and examine it. So let's go ahead and copy and paste this target in. The first thing is this line right here. I've created a property that will actually store all the various assemblies in which I want an NCover profile. And I've done this by utilizing the assembly.output.dir property that I created above. And then I've just listed the DLL that I want profiled. Now in my scenario here I only have one assembly that I want profiled, but it's going to be more than likely common that you'll have multiple assemblies that need to be profiled. In order to do this, all you have to do is put a white space and then list each of your assemblies one by one. And this will instruct NCover that needs to look into each of these DLLs. The next thing I want to do is I want to actually call the NCover program directly. Now I'm going to point it to the NCover console executable that was defined above. I'm going to give it here this list of all of our assemblies. Now I could have just put this list in line right here, but I actually like to create it as a property. I just think it's a little cleaner. Then we're going to say this is our coverage file, so this is the XML file I'll be created. Here's a log file that I'll create. That way if there's something that goes wrong, we'll actually be able to look at a log and see what's going on. Then finally it's going to say, let's go ahead and call our NCover Explorer target. And while we're on that topic, why don't we actually create our target real quick. So here's our NCover Explorer target. And what NCover Explorer will do is actually launch the NCover Explorer executable. It will provide the output directory where all of our coverage stuff is stored. Say what is the name of the XML report that's going to be generated, what's the name of the HTML report, and a merge report. And then here I'm going to say, 80% is what I want to be my satisfactory coverage percent. You can change this. 80 seems to be the industry standard. You can make it whatever you want though. And last but not least, I'm going to say, let's go ahead and exclude any assemblies from our metrics or from our test report that have the word test or Rhino in them. And then the next thing I'm going to say is, anything that has a namespace of .properties, let's go ahead and ignore that as well. So there are the two targets you'll need to actually implement in order to get NCover to work. So let's go up and let's add our target to our build command. That way when we run our command line to run this script, we'll actually have it compile, run our test, as well as run the code coverage. So why don't we go ahead and do that right now. Now here's the command line values that you need to provide in order to run our Nant script. Now here's the command line values that you need to provide in order to run our Nant script. I'm basically going to say, let's go find the tools Nant executable. My build file is build with test with coverage.build, and I'm going to say call the target build with coverage. Now this line should not be anything new to you if you watched the previous episodes, as we've gone over this in depth in the first episode. So let's go ahead and hit enter and see that this thing runs. So it's running our coverage now. This should take a few seconds. So now that this is done running, let's take a look at the output. So I can see here it ran 5 tests, 0 failed. All of, it didn't run any of them, or didn't skip any of them. Took about 2 seconds to run. Created my XML file as well as my log. Then down here in NCover Explorer, took in my 80% as my satisfactory number. Tells me where it's outputting the XML and the HTML and the coverage merge. And it's saying it's, ignoring a few assemblies. And finally it says I have 97% coverage, 1 on-visit sequence, and 1 file path. So essentially, I missed one logic line within my entire project. Otherwise, I'd have been 100% covered. Not too bad. So now we've actually seen how this thing can run. Let's take a look at the output files that gets generated. Here are the various files that get generated. Here's my actual raw XML file. Actually, let's move that into Visual Studio and take a look at it. This will tell me all the information for each individual test that get ran. And most of the time you're not going to need to worry about this. But the one you will want to take a look at is the report.html. This report.html will actually give you the metrics in a human pretty format, if you will. Now, because I do have a small project here that is simply for this demo, I don't have a whole lot of information here, but as you can probably imagine, if you have a larger project with many assemblies and many hundreds if not thousands of lines of code, this graph here and this page here will be more beneficial to you. So there you go. Within about 6 or 7 minutes, we've taken a look at how you can actually add NCover to your build script, how you can take a look at your the XML file that it generates and the HTML file it generates. So I hope you learned something. Until next time.